Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Average Joe's Phantom action swinging its way to you this afternoon. Terribly exciting. It's all been a little bit samey of late. I know it's been all about the pro level ladder action, which is great, let's face it, but it's nice to have a bit of variety as well. And I just haven't had the time, to be honest, guys, to go sifting through replays, and I tend to rely on trusted submissions or trusted sources for submissions when I get into that stage or that state, because it basically saves me time. But hopefully we shall rectify it a bit today. Average Joes, you have definitely been under-subscribed of late, and Phantom players, you've had an even worse looking. I've had over like 300 plus videos online now on the channel, and this is only the third Phantom cast, I believe, so you guys making up less than 1% of content here at Guilecast. We shall try to do better in the future, starting today, and all the action can kick off right away because I've got no news or bits of information to bring you, and it's all going to go down on Phantom Bunny Roanoke Land. Someone's made a land version of Bunny Roanoke's Abyss. Can't believe it. And when you see it, you won't be able to believe it either, because it's absolutely hideous. Look at that colouring. But someone's basically just taken the water and replaced it with dust. It's not pretty. Duney dust with a terrible weed problem. Lots of unwanted plants there. I could have put some other decals in there somewhere, but anyway, why mess with the whole thing when it isn't broken? I can't believe it. They're already voting. This must be an augmented version of Phantom mod since the last time I played it. Looks like everyone voted pretty much for 2 there. One person went in for a single Phantom, another person for 3, but otherwise everybody chose 2. That's pretty standard. We'll go into how Phantom mod works briefly for those of you who aren't aware in just a second. First of all, though, let's take a look at our players. Going first up here at the 12 o'clock position, he's chosen UEF, which is an inspired choice. It's Ember 711 in electric blue, and I'm not going to tell you what he's chosen first, because as you can see, we've got pre-built units on. Usually cannot stand the concept of pre-built units, but from a casting perspective on Phantom mods, it's a godsend, because let's face it, nothing really happens in the first few minutes of these anyway, and we can even bump it up a notch and get these guys started nice and quickly. Anyway, there he is, Ember 711. He's also incidentally the only non-Joe featuring in today's Average Joes. We take an average of all of the ratings, and if it comes in below 1500, which you can see by the scores there, it will do quite comfortably, then we call it an Average Joe's game. But Ember at 1600, the only non-Joe playing here. Everybody else is on budget in terms of score or rating. Next up to his right, we've got Atomic in mellow yellow. He's gone Cybrin. Busy getting power grid together there, same as Ember was, so very much the way to go. Get that next T2 mechs going. Down here to his south, it's No Name 2341. He's chosen Seraphim in breast cancer awareness pink. And then down here in the 6 o'clock position in lurid green, it's Navax or Navax. It's probably Navax, isn't it? Again going UEF. And I keep wanting to say what he's opening with. It just seems wrong when you've said something 300 times and then you go to say it again and it's not right. It's very confusing. But next up here in the southwesterly position, it's Theorem. He's chosen Ferrari Red Cybrin, already getting an upgrade on his comm there. I'm not seeing the extra P-gens anywhere, so he's going a slightly different way with it. And last but not least, up here at the top, we have Nyx, and he's going UEF as well in Regal Purple. Now, we're only 4.4 minutes in, but you could see already Nyx and Theorem mass way ahead of everybody else, as in very significantly. So that would say to me that the Phantom assignments have already been placed, and it is these 2 players here who have gone Phantom. No names, I can only assume, is having power issues. There he is, because his mass is so much lower than everybody else. But that would explain why we're not seeing more P-gens going down there for Theron because he just doesn't need it. So now we can have a little bit of a quick discussion. We'll slow this up because already Nyx is making a play to go crippling Ember. Essentially, what happens with Phantom, everybody votes at the beginning of it. You're all on the same team. Everybody can see what everyone else is doing. You can see I've selected Ember there, and that is what he can see. It's grayed out around the area. He hasn't got line of sight on the other players. But around the main bases, you've got all of the line of sight that you would expect to see. And essentially what it means is that you have to break to kill anybody. It all starts off on an even diplomatic footing to begin with. And once the Phantom assignment has gone down, you have a little bit of a waiting period. And then, at random, the Phantom is chosen. And the Phantoms get an extra resource bonus. So you're either a Phantom or an Innocent. And the Innocents have to discern who the Phantoms are and kill them, and the Phantoms have to kill the other Innocents first, and then if they manage to do that, then the two Phantoms face off. And there is a little bit of a sweetener that you get something in there called a Paladin, who also gets a large resource bonus. Not quite as large as the Phantom, but he's on the side of the Innocents. It's basically a moderating factor. And if I was to look at this, judging from what we saw earlier, I would have to say that the Paladin is most likely no name 2341. So if I'm correct on that, then we can suggest that these guys here are all on the same team. They don't necessarily know that yet, but it is these guys on the left who are the Phantoms. It looks very much like Nyx is about to out himself, though. If we speed this back up to 0 or even +1, we might be in time to see a break. And there it goes. You can see the line of sight has gone there from Ember. So they're already chatting about it in local chat. And Nyx queuing up with the naming mod. And an awful lot of it named after other in-game players, which is always nice. Get to watch people who you like and perhaps dislike going up in a pile of fiery death. But along come that line of strikers coming in now there for Nyx and rolling right over that side island for Ember, who's also now facing a potential frontal assault from this huge line of factories that's suddenly been thrown together by Nyx. How well is Ember going to do at repelling this remains to be seen. He's immediately starting to throw together triads to deal with this. I suggest he probably needs to get as much build capacity as he can, putting up a wall of T1 PD. He's already facing some tech right on his doorstep as well. T2 units, parashields, and pillars rolling up to his front door. And Ember, already at T3, immediately starts work on a Ravager. So that is a nice, quick escalation in tech there from Ember. Definitely going to help him repel this early attack, but a wave of T1 aggressing from the west potentially be causing a few problems if he doesn't pounce on it soon. How is his intel? Well, he's got about 1 T1's worth. You can see the units flooding into range there. Definitely wants to get up to T2 soon, but this is a scary position to be in when you are being so overwhelmingly surrounded. Build capacity now building a wall of T1 PD at the back there. That Ravager certainly earning its pay. What's going on down at the bottom? Well, you can see we've got another attack underway, so Phantoms not at all shy to out themselves in this one, and this is going to be one of the rare occasions where we spend probably a large portion of the game here in split screen to keep an eye on these two theaters, which I imagine will be quite heavily sustained. And I'm sorry I don't know the hotkey to turn off all of that hideous naming, because that is just dirty amounts of text crawling across your screen. Very unfortunate indeed. Down here at the 6 o'clock position, Navax seems reasonably comfortable under dual T2 shields and a bunch of triads lined up on the western edge of his base. Ember doing a pretty good job at securing the back and western approach, but sensing a potential gap, Nyx has come in around the eastern edge of Ember's island. Ember trying to erect a new wall of triads, but is, I believe, going to lose that other T2 mass pump. Has lost a couple of mexes down here at the bottom left-hand corner. Sorry, another one down here, of course, at the bottom right. So almost all of the outlying mexes out of commission there. Still got this island, and this island has lost this one up here, of course. But look how many T1 land factories. That is absolutely outrageous. Meanwhile, down here, we're starting to get some units coming in from No Name, offering a little bit of assistance to Navax, but they're not really adding a whole deal of defensive firepower to the mix as yet. Navax already with T3 units, Titans patrolling the area, is going to lose that bottom left island by the looks of things. And not a great deal of assistance from Atomic for Ember, but we do have a Monkey Lord en route, and of course stealth on board on that Monkey Lord will mean Nyx, unless you can spot it with an aircraft, unlikely to see it coming. As a result, potentially might lose quite a few of these factories. But Fat Boy under construction for Nyx. Ember definitely hopes that Atomic can deal some crippling damage with that Monkey Lord before that thing gets online. It's got a long way to walk, though. 20-kilometer map, of course, the Roanoakes. And this version of it is no different, but Walls of Ravagers doing a fantastic job at keeping these NGs at bay. Not that there's ever any major threat from them, but did have a few T2 units lingering up here. All the firepower for Theorem seems to have been redirected towards the central middle island. Vipers stinging that shield gen at range, but in comes the Monkey Lord for Atomic and immediately starts work on those factories. One at a time, they're likely to go down. It's going to be a horrible surprise for Nyx, who was trying to get a TAC missile launcher together to, no doubt, assassinate some more eco, but that's going to go up before any missiles can be completed in it. And sensing the inevitable, Nyx Control K's all of his remaining T1 factories and is now escaping as quickly as he can from the impending attack from that Monkey Lord, the route that he's most likely to plan. In fact, he's just simply walking down the line of old factory wrecks for the moment, heading straight towards those factories that are left. He's got one T2 up here, Nyx, but the rest are all T3, and that will be a shame to lose. Certainly a lot of manufacturing capacity about to go up in flames. No Name, meanwhile, down here at the bottom trying a little bit of a flanking maneuver, but it's all T1, it's all THAM spam. That's not going to fare too well against the horde of rhinos that are coming in from the northwest. However, as you can see in the background there, an Ethota online, and if you can see in the very far distant background, another one as well. So, of course, No Name at 310 mass per tick, keeping up pretty much, not too badly, with the two Phantoms. So Paladin doing everything he's supposed to now, and this could really hurt Theorem. Can't see any experimentals in play as yet. He has got a megalith under construction. That is at 55,000 hit points of 110,000. So exactly 50% complete so far. Mass Control K of NGs. No free veterancy for your chicken. Thank you very much, says Theorem. Lots of Vipers. Going to struggle to kill off that Ethota. Huge AoE on those weapons. But that Monkey Lord has certainly given Ember a nice amount of room. He already has a whole bunch of T2 units patrolling out front, and more importantly, it's giving him the time he needs to build up his base a little bit. Currently working on a range of kennels, extra build capacity, literally at the click of a button wherever you want it. Mass Control K of those Vipers from Theorem. Still, he's producing an awful lot of them. He seems to have switched a little bit. He's got a few rhinos coming in, but he'll be banking on that megalith finishing nice and soon. Certainly needs it ASAP. But Fat Boy complete for Ember. He's certainly going to be breathing a little bit easier now. However, Fat Boy sitting in the bunch of T1 there for Nyx as well. So potentially a little bit of Fat Boy exchange about to happen soon. Ember circling up around the northern edge of the map with all of that T2 we saw earlier. Potentially, I guess, about to bear down on that northern island belonging to Nyx. But that Ethota now breaching the main base. And this will be telling. No Name coming into the base now is under megalith fire. And of course, naturally, the Ethota will target the megalith, but there's no way for him to defeat that experimental. What he should be doing, if he's paying attention, is marching it into the base and targeting key units. He might be trying to chase down the ACU, but he's never going to get there. And down he goes. However, Ion Storm, in effect, should pick off a few more units and potentially a few buildings as well. So there goes one experimental for No Name. He has a second coming in now from the east as well. Up here, the two Fat Boys exchange fire, and it's Nyx's shield that drops first. Ember's Fatty is going to take a little bit of fire, but Nyx's is actually on the move. Has Ember made a mistake here? Oh my god, one more volley surely. Down it goes. This is going to be close, and it's an even trade there. Both parties losing their Fat Boy. However, Ember right there with his kennel drones immediately to reclaim mass straight into the coffers of him and his teammates there. Once again, Thota bearing down on the megalith, but I'd be surprised if the megalith wins this one as well. Might potentially die in the ensuing Ion Storm. Oh, it's going to be really close. That's surely a trade. Can the megalith get out of range in time? He's got 3,000 hit points on there. It's random though. I think he's managed to do it. So nice escape there from Theorem, and it's a nice mass delivery as well for him. He's lost one mechs and a bunch of build capacity, but a second Fat Boy up here for Nyx, trying to catch that Monkey Lord. But of course, we look at things from his point of view. Stealth causing an awful issue on that front. He needs to get some visual cue on it, some kind of spy plane or something. Otham's massing down at Navax's base, so neither of the Phantoms here at the 18-minute mark threatening to break through on their chosen targets. Ember looking pretty comfortable, all things being equal right now. Another Fat Boy under construction, all of his eco intact. And down at the bottom 6 o'clock position, Navax really hasn't been pressured much at all. Yes, he's lost this little side island down here, but thanks to some quick and early Ravagers and Triads on that edge of the island, never really looked in danger. And now we've even got a sort of battalion of Mongoose coming in from this northern island, which still hasn't been pacified, astonishingly enough. The cat and mouse game up top still continues between that fat boy and that monkey lord. Actually wondering if something like this really does favour the innocents. It's incredibly difficult as Phantoms, especially when you're facing off against 2 UEFs either side. You think it's a lot easier to deal with a UEF potentially if you're bombarding from the sea, if this was the regular Roanoke's Abyss. A lot easier to overwhelm those defences with massive cruiser missile spam or battleship spam, or even experimentals that are safe until they come out of the water, but much more difficult to face down Triads and Ravagers with units when they're just approaching as any other land unit does. And of course, when everybody's had the setup time that they've had, instant eco on tap, that is perhaps a potential drawback to the ready-built bases. But Ember with a bunch of shield gens and a stealth gen as well, and in this area now putting up a huge wall of clink hammers. A wonderful name that is. I've said it so many times in the past. I know I also said I would perhaps name my firstborn child Clinkhammer, but it's really more of a boy's name. It doesn't really work for a girl. It's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Interestingly, he's not stacking it with T1P gens though, of course, so not getting the rate of fire bonus from the adjacency. Meanwhile, down at the bottom, much of the Othams, Theorem being beaten back now by a wave of siege tanks from No Name, and now Titans moving across the southern border of the map as well from Navax. And look at this, we've got more assistance coming in from Atomic. He's been pretty quiet apart from that first Monkey Lord. However, that first Monkey Lord's killed 45 units, and of course amongst that also the land factories, but at the same time has managed to help ward off any extra attacks that might have been bearing down on Ember. So good work there. Small, precise, but very useful indeed. And now we've got Rambo preset support commanders with a large force of bricks in tow. More bricks on the way as well. Really, things not looking great for the Phantoms so far. Monkey Lord back at base for Theorem, trying to mop up those siege tanks, and I think we could probably do with switching over screens here, being as the sound effects only come in on the left screen, and that is for the moment where all of the action is. Random assault bot there, Percival just getting a little bit too close to Ember's Fat Boy. Let's have a look at what Nyx can actually see. Well, absolutely nothing thanks to that stealth gen. No Omni in range of that, so this little stealth gen creep allowing Ember to keep that Fat Boy off the radar in the very literal sense. But look at this flanking maneuver from No Name. Another 2 Ethotas bearing down on Theorem's main base from the northeast. That is quite the detour they've taken. Another one coming in from the far east as well. all the build capacity in Theorem's base, currently hurriedly working on Monkey Lords as quickly as possible, but with very little to deal with it. I think with how little is going on in the north, we can actually go back to single screen. One of the Monkey Lords was allowed to be completed. Theorem controlled K's almost all of his build capacity. We do have another couple of Monkey Lords coming in from the southeast, but they're probably not going to fare much better as well. So that's 4 Monkey Lords essentially, or certainly 3.5, that will be going down and out in this one. And watch how quickly the hit points melt off that spider bot. Boom. Now, admittedly, there's a ton of mass there. Should Theorem be able to deal with these Ithotas, but he's got very little build capacity left to do anything with it. More Monkey Lords under production over here by the hives. And if he just managed to pick off at least one of these out of the core section of the island, he might be able to survive this. Wants to avoid those plasma balls of death. Down goes the first one. The spider bot not far behind it. The ion storm should dish out a little bit of damage to that Ithota. It's going to nick off at about 10,000 HP. Another Monkey Lord complete. In comes a plasma ball and does a huge amount of damage. Astonishingly, I would have thought that it would have been able to be repaired by those hives. But things going really badly pear-shaped at the moment for Theorem. And he seems not to be able to do anything about that other Ithota. Meanwhile, forward come 2 fat boys up here at the top for Nyx, who doesn't like this encroaching front line of embers, this wall of clink hammers, which is slowly creeping its way forward. So he'll deal with the first one. Ember needs to be a little bit careful here. He's got his ACU right out in front. Admittedly, 18,000 hit points on that bad boy. Still worth checking yourself before you wreck yourself. Pillars rolling in, potentially offering up a ton of free veterancy to those fat boys. But look at what's going on down here. Theorem well and truly rolled over now by the Paladin. His ACU is way out here, still trying to produce as many Monkey Lords as he can. And if one of our Phantoms doesn't manage to score at least 1 kill pretty soon, then this game is well and truly a done deal. I remember the last time I saw 2 Phantoms struggle to make an impact whilst attacking as quickly as this as well. Do feel that this is a bit of a feature of the setup these guys are employing with the pre-built units, and of course the fact that it's only Roanoke land, but there's so many support commanders there, and just look at the damage they deal. Down goes the megalith. Next up should be the Monkey Lord. Health evaporating incredibly fast, and all that's left are these very heavily spread out bricks. We do have that fat boy to the north. Meanwhile, taking a look down here, Theorem's base has been annihilated. We finally see the end of that Ithota. 97 kills to its name. Yes, we do. Down it goes. That is a welcome day indeed. The only problem is there is no base left belonging to Theorem. Perhaps a more even setup for this game would have been not to have a Paladin, because there was just too much pressure coming in from No Name. And we've actually got a Scathis under construction here, belonging to Atomic, building it in Ember's front line, behind the wall of Clinkhammers and Ravagers. This really is a nice casual game by the looks of things for Ember. He's quite happy, he's sitting, he's defensive. Another expedition sets out from Atomic's base, and some nice teamwork going on there. You can see a donated ion reactor sent over to Ember, help powering that base, and of course the shield gens, to which he is now hiding a Scathis beneath. Huge quantity of T3 units amalgamating on Navax's main island there. I'd be kind of asking them to move along now, build space. Well, not such a premium on this version of it, but T3 artillery operational. One Duke there on Navax's base, and we've got another one out here as well. If you can see through the ocean of green text there. Oh my god, it's even every single kennel drone. That's just horrible. Every single rover drone. Happy the Imp, happy the Shio, happy the Stefan D. Jeez Louise. But that Duke, happy the firing on Ember's base, and we have seen a couple of casualties by the looks of things, or at least one. That core mech's out of commission there. But I don't think he's in danger of dealing any crippling blows as yet. Two fat boys, though, slowly encroaching on Nyx's territory. Those forward support commanders taking the brunt of the fire. It's trying to set up a little bit of a fortification there for them to retreat to, but there's an awful lot of ranged firepower bearing down on that position now. You can see there's another crab coming in there from Atomic in the background. When that gets into range as well, it's going to be incredibly difficult for those support commanders to get anything going. The minute they build a shield, it's immediately depleted. Shield actually collapsing there on Nyx's fat boy for a moment. And now Navax pushing forward with a fatty of his own. Still the odd experimental kicking around, and we have got build capacity sitting around there harvesting mass for Theorem, whose ACU is slowly marching up towards Nyx's base. Shielding much more comprehensive on Nyx's setup than on Ember, who's now lost another core mechs. He's down to around 218 mass per tick. And that compares to Nyx's 500, which is pretty extraordinary stuff. But the Paladin, whose bonus is usually about half that of the Phantom bonus, or maybe even less, on 486, so not too far behind. The explosions going off in the background as support commanders run out of hit points and go critical, but the shields slowly but surely capitulating to that continuous pressure from Navax's artillery. We've got another one from over here as well. Seemed like one was coming from that direction. I could be wrong, but what we have got is a completed Scathis on the front line there for Atomic, and that most surely represents the end of the game. I can't see any way out of this now for our Phantoms. That Scathis pressure raining down on that main base. Absolutely nothing he can do about it. He has switched up and targeted Navax's base, but there's two Dukes there bearing down on him. Where is Nyx's ACU is the question. Oh, there he is. And he's taking fire, as we can hear. And suddenly we've had 100 mass protect wiped off Nyx's eco. That lone Monkey Lord coming in from the south is going to get swallowed up by all those bricks and that megalith. Have an awful lot of T2 artillery out front. Probably wants to think about some Ravagers, but it's all a little bit moot at this point. Nyx with a handful of shields remaining. Awful lot of power to his name, though. Goodness me, are we... is that purely because of the Phantom? The Phantom, they get automatic outrageous storage. 313,000 power stored. That is ridiculous. Only gonna take a couple of shells to kill off those shield gens, and it won't matter. And in fact, a huge torrent of pink is pushing up from the south. Never a good feeling, I can assure you. And with nothing to kill that Ethota, Nyx is well and truly done for. Down goes the shield gen. And in comes a ball of boiling hot plasma to finish Nyx off. The Phantom is assassinated, and all that remains is Theorem up here, hiding behind a stealth gen. Name outs himself as the Paladin. I think it was pretty obvious. The Monkey Lords might be able to enact a little bit of revenge here if they can get in range of this Fat Boy, which they should be able to. One of them does succumb to the pressure from those Othams coming in from the north. Just can't seem to close the gap quickly enough. Unbelievable. Down goes another one. One remains with 20,000 HP. Targets the shield, but there's so much firepower. Doesn't get a chance, and that Fat Boy survives. And there's now weapons fire coming in from all corners of the map. T3 artillery, Fat Boy fire, Othams and Ethotas coming in on the ground. Immediately target that Monkey Lord. Is it going to get completed? Yes, it does. But it's not going to stay functional for very long. We got on our commander up here. nothing that's going to give us any surprises. No telemaser en route. I think we can afford to adjust the game speed up just a little bit while we wait for these guys to chase down a very stubborn ACU. And look at that, Ember going AFK, other things to do, transfers everything over to Atomic.
Strategic launch detected.
Out goes a nuke from Navax. Just testing the water in the bottom left-hand corner, or the dust, shall we say. Look at the random spam of Selens. We've got an insane route there. Look at that. I will find you. So no Navy and no air on this one at all. Of course, no Navy with the no water, but air will have been disbanded at the beginning. But oh my goodness, look at this. Theorem manages. Well,
strategic launch
that's
detected.
what you get when you manage to get a stealth gen on terribly underhand Cybran. What have we got there? So there it is, personal stealth. Or cloak even, rather than personal stealth. Few overcharges and keep moving, and suddenly you can't do much about it. Doesn't help when you haven't got spy planes to hover above. Another outrageous advantage to Cybran's. Nuke lands just north of him, and the EMP actually does strike him, but no significant damage inflicting on the ACU. I just need to get some kind of Omni up in place nearby, and
strategic launch detected.
then they'll be able to deal with it. And the view from Navax. And you can even see where it's coming from. Just fire at the thing that's firing. Atomic's had enough. He leaves, and everything gets transferred over to Ember. Sorry, not over to Ember, over to No Name. What a farcical end to this one it is. Friendly nuke comes in and takes out all Navax's Percivals, and still Theorem is alive. But Omni surely online now as everything opens up on him. And at 43.5 minutes he bows out of the game. Well, I have rarely seen such an overwhelming curb stomping from the Innocents in a Phantom game. Of course, this is Average Joe's, so mistakes will be made here and there, but it goes for everybody in the game, not just for the Phantoms, of course. But yeah, there you go. Bit of flavour, bit of variation. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. There's always more to come from me in the future, but in the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.